G'day and welcome to another video. In today's lesson we will learn how to make this beautiful tea light candle holder. This pattern can be adjusted to fit any size candle holder. I am using a glass jar that is just recycled from something we had in the fridge. So the pattern can be adjusted to fit any size glass jar. I have just used yarn for the top of this one to tie it up. You could use elastic, or you could also make it look even more special by using a beautiful ribbon. I think this project is great for any occasion. This colour you could use for Christmas, you could use it for birthday parties, entertaining guests at a dinner party, and I think it would look absolutely stunning using white cotton for a wedding. So let's get started on the lesson. So in today's tutorial we are going to need some yarn of your choice. I'm using 8 ply, that's Australian yarn, or double knit in the UK, or sports weight in the US and Canada. I've got a 4mm hook that goes with my yarn. I've got a sewing needle, pair of scissors, and a glass jar. Now I'm pretty sure this used to have olives or something in it. It's just one that we've recycled. And you've also got a candle that's in the bottom. Now you can use any yarn that you like. You could use worsted weight. If you've got a really wide jar, like this one's quite narrow, if you've got a really wide jar you could use worsted weight. You could also make this project with crochet cotton. Now not the cotton that is like 10 ply or worsted weight, like the really thin stuff. That would look really pretty. If you had something glittering, that would look even better. So let's get started on the project. So I'm going to tip my candle out so it doesn't move around and annoy us. So you're going to need your jar handy. So I'm just going to move these bits and pieces to the side. This is probably a great way to use up scraps too. You're not going to use that much yarn when we make this project. So I'm just pulling out some yarn so we're ready. And you could use a chain 4 and join, or you could use a magic ring, because this magic ring is going to close up the hole at the beginning, so it's going to look nice and neat. So there's plenty of ways to do magic rings, but the easiest way I've found, there's 2 ways I do it. I either grab the yarn in my left hand and just wrap it around my fingers, and just hold on to it with my thumb, and just grab it off, and then I work into the middle of the ring there. And the other way, which is probably even easier, is grab the short piece in that hand and then just put that piece of yarn over that side like that. And then work into the circle. So like I said, plenty of different ways to do it. If you've seen some of my earlier videos, you'll know I used to hate doing it. And I didn't use it very often. So we've put our hook into the centre. We're grabbing our yarn with our hook and pulling through. And we're going to do a chain 1, and the chain 1 just secures that ring together so that it doesn't come undone. Now I'm going to work this project in double crochet. You could work it in basically any stitch that you want to, and we're basically going to make a circle that's big enough to fit the bottom of our jar there. So because I'm using double crochet, I'm going to chain up 3. And I already did 1 chain down there, so that's 1, 2 and 3. Then we're going to double crochet into the centre. So going into the centre of the ring, I like just to hold my ring so that it doesn't move around all the time. So that's 1. That's just a bit too close. There we go. Into the ring, making another double crochet. Now I'm going to assume that you know how to make a double crochet. Going into the centre. And then we're going to continue on, putting a whole heap of double crochets in the middle. So we're going to put 12 double crochets and the chain 3, so altogether you'll have 13 stitches. So chain 3 and then 12 double crochets into the centre of your ring. And once we have all our stitches done, we are going to pull on the short end here, and that closes up the ring. And you're going to pull that nice and tight, and we're going to sew that in later. Then what we're going to do is we're going to join into the top of the first double crochet, not the chain 3. So the chain 3 is there, and the double crochet is here. So going into the top of the double crochet, so we're totally ignoring our chain 3, and then we're going to join with a slip stitch, and you're going to have a little circle. So what we want to do now is chain 3 again, and we're going to work 2 double crochets in each stitch around. So we want to work 1 back into the same stitch. See that little tiny hole there? We're going to work into there. And we are ignoring this chain 3. Pretend that doesn't exist, because that was just the step up. And this gives you a nice neat join when you come back around. So back into that same stitch that you just did your double crochet, you're going to work 1 more. And in each stitch around we're going to work 2 double crochets. So the next stitch is there. Making sure you don't have yarn that splits. It drives me nuts, that does. So that's the second stitch. Next one we're going to work 2, and every stitch around we are going to work 2 double crochets. And you're going to work around until you have 24 double crochets and then the chain 3. So here is actually not a stitch. It's, well, is a stitch, but it was done here. That was where we chained up. So we're going to go across. We're going to ignore the chain 3, and we're joining into the top of the double crochet. And this gives a neat join and doesn't leave that big hole that sometimes you get when you join rounds. So I don't think it's big enough yet, but I'm going to put it on the bottom of our jar. Oh, it actually is big enough. Well, that was easy. 2 rounds for my little tiny jar. Now, if you need to do more rounds, I will show you how to do another round and then explain the next one. And then I'm sure your jar's not going to be really huge. But let's just say that you need to make it bigger. So say your jar's out to here, but if you use the double crochet it's going to be too big. So what you can do is you can drop down to a single crochet or a half double crochet, just to add that little extra piece, but you didn't really need it to be as wide as a double crochet. So I'll show you the next round. So if you've ever made a hat, you will know the basic increasing. So that's pretty much what we're using for this. It's 12 stitches in the middle. You may also have started with 10 on a hat that you've made, not this project, but a hat. And then it's increasing in every stitch, which means 2 double crochets in each stitch. Then the next round we're increasing every second stitch. So we work our chain 3, and on this project we don't pay any attention to that little old fella because he's being ignored in this project, poor thing. And we're going to work 1 double crochet into that same stitch. So when you're counting your stitches, you're completely ignoring that chain 3. So far we've only done 1 stitch because we're ignoring the chain 3. The next stitch we're going to work 2 double crochets, also known as an increase. In the next stitch you're going to do 1 double crochet. In the next stitch you're going to work 2 double crochets. So you're alternating between 1 in the next stitch and then 2 in the next. So we've just done 2, so we need 1 in the next stitch. And then 2 in the next stitch. So if you needed to add another round, you would increase in every, so this was increasing in every second stitch because we've done an increase there and then there's 1 by itself. So that's 1 and then that's the second stitch, you do an increase. The next row you'd increase in every third stitch, and if you need it even bigger than that, you're going to increase in every fourth, increase in every fifth as you go around each row. So like I said, if this was too wide, so if you put this on your jar and that's too many rounds for your jar, maybe change that to a single crochet stitch, doing the same increasing, and that should give you a better fitting. Play around, because the stitches are different heights, you can play around with them. So I'm just going to pull that back out because I've got enough. I'll pull it back so we can start from the beginning. So what we're going to do now is start the pattern that's on our jar. So we're going to chain up 3, and if you have made my cluster fee hat, you already know this pattern. So it's chain up 3, and it's double crochet in the same stitch. Just going to zoom in just a smidge. We are going to chain 1, and we're going to work 2 more double crochets in that same stitch as where this one's coming out of. So you're working 2 into there, we're going to skip 2 and we're going to double crochet into the next one. Now you could also work this round into the back loops only if you wanted to. So we need 2, so that's 2 double crochets, chain 1 and 2 double crochets. And it's all going into that same stitch. Now for a different pattern, if you'd like to try this also, you're still working into the same stitch, skipping 2 and then into the same stitch. You could work 3 double crochets, like when you make a granny square, you could try it like that also. Just an idea. So we're skipping 2 stitches, going into the next one. And you could, once you've got the base, the circle base here, you could mess around with all types of patterns, couldn't you? You could have them all different. So working 2 more double crochets into the same stitch. And this is the pattern that we repeat all the way around. We skip 2 stitches and then we do our 2 double crochets, chain 1 and 2 double crochets. So it's skipping 2, going into the next one, working 2 double crochets, all in the same stitch, chain 1 and 2 double crochets. Oops. And we're going to oh man, this yarn is splitting. It's not my fault. Couldn't be my fault, could it? Yep, so we're going to repeat this all the way around until we get back to the beginning. And it should start to curl up. Like, you see how the sides are curling up? If yours isn't doing that, you could use a smaller hook and that will definitely make it curl up a lot more. So once we get to the end of our row, we're going to look professional first, and then we're going to join our row up. So going into the top of the chain 3. So in this little row, we actually pay attention to the chain 3. So 1, 2, 3. Top of the chain 3 is there, so it's the 3rd chain, and you want to pick up that first loop and then that back loop as well. I find if you join it just in the one, it can sometimes look really loose, even though it's hard to, there we go, hard to do that slip stitch. I find it looks better. Alrighty, so now we've got a hat that's going to fit a tiny little teddy bear. So get your jar, and you want to just make sure after you've done a few rows that it's actually going to fit. Because that would be bad, wouldn't it, if it didn't fit at the end of our project? You might be lucky and be able to find a different jar, but you may not. So that's just starting to curl up a little bit there, and I think once the sides come up, it's going to be perfect. This is going to look so cute on the table for any occasion. You could use this for Christmas, you could use it for birthdays. Oh my goodness, you could do it in white and use it for weddings. That would look so pretty, wouldn't it, don't you think? So I'm just going to move you back up. And now we're going to start our new row. But because we want to start putting our, whatever you call this, the V-stitch, you want to start putting it into the chain 1 space. We have to slip stitch over, because see how we've joined here? If we start doing it now, it's going to be working out of this chain 3 and it's not going to look right. So we need to slip stitch across and then start our new V-stitch here into our chain 1 space. So what you're going to need to do is slip stitch across. So going into the next stitch, you'll slip stitch, and you need to go into the chain 1 space and make a slip stitch. Now if you've got an extra stitch to do, that's fine, as long as you've slip stitched into your chain 1 space, and we're starting from there. So after we have the first round of our little piece here, we have slip stitched across to the chain 1 space. We're going to work 3 chains. And this row now we are going to repeat all the way around, and each row is going to be the same. So you will join, slip stitch across to your chain 1 space, chain 3, work 1 double crochet into the chain 1 space, which is in there, chain 1, and then do 2 double crochets, we're going to skip this gap and these stitches here into the next chain 1 space, and we're going to work 2 double crochets. It's all going in the same space, chain 1, and then 2 more double crochets. And then you'll have your V-stitch like that one. Skipping the 2 stitches, that big space there, which is just the little gap that we just created as we've gone across. Skipping all our double crochets and going into our chain 1 space. We're going to work 2 double crochets, a chain 1, and 2 double crochets, and we repeat this all the way around until we get back to the start of our row. When we get back to the beginning of our row, we are going to join into the 3rd chain. 1, 2, and 3. Working into the front and the back loop, making sure you actually get it. And then working a slip stitch. So remember, we had to chain across. I don't know if you just heard that noise, but that was Bob throwing himself on the ground. So we slip stitch across to our chain 1 space, and then we do our chain 3, our 1 double crochet there, because that first chain 3 in this section of the pattern counts as our first double crochet. So you're going to chain 1 into the same chain 1 space, we're going to work 2 double crochet, and then you just repeat that around and join like we did in the previous row. So you're pretty much going to just keep going. You're going to sew in that end, get rid of that one. I'll just poke him down there for a second. You're going to keep going until my glass doesn't fit into my camera. There we go. You're just going to keep going until you've got your length that you need. And I'll see you at the end. And yeah, happy crochet until I see you then. I'll be back in a second if you're just watching the video, or I will join you when we are ready to finish. So once you have yours long enough, I'm just going to put mine sideways because it doesn't fit that way. You could thread elastic through the top so that it stays up. If yours is a little bit too big, it may not stand up. And you're going to see the top of the ugly jar there. So you won't get it, so it's just covering. And most jars have like that bit where it goes in like that. So I'm going to finish this off. So you cut your yarn, thread your yarn through your loop and pull, and then you'll sew your ends in. And then what I'm going to do is make a chain. You could use a really pretty bit of ribbon as well. Excuse me. That would work. So I'm going to make a chain. So if you don't have any other craft supplies laying around, you could just use a chain for yours. So making your slip knot. And then finding your crochet hook that's run away. What we're going to do is just make a chain that's long enough to go around the top of our jar, and then to make a bow as well. Now if you have a skinny jar like mine, you could maybe use a hair elastic and maybe somehow single crochet that around, like onto the top of it. I'm not really sure how you do it, but trying to think of something that was elastic. But I think a nice piece of ribbon would look beautiful. And if you had a white one of these, like a white cover, you could change the ribbon depending on what the occasion was for. Okay, so just bear with me, I'm just going to make a chain. Okay, so that's long enough to go around the jar. So if you're not a fan of our Facebook page already, go and check it out. It's a beautiful and wonderful site, if I do say so myself. So many helpful people over there. There's over 12,000 fans, and every single one of them is more than willing to help you if you ever get stuck on something. I've learned so much by using that page. Answers from other people. Alright, so I'm just going to thread this through. I'm going to thread it through the top loops. And of course you can do this in a different colour. So I've just threaded it in and out. Look at that, by sheer fluke, I have enough loops so that it comes out right. So pop your jar in there. You're going to want to get that little tie-up section so that it's I'm just moving it so that the shells are above the cord. See how the cord is coming across there and the bottom of the shell is there, so making it look all pretty. Oh, tie it in a knot. Make sure it's nice and tight, and then making a bow. So if your chain is long enough, you can cut it off. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed creating this project with me. Please subscribe to my channel, as there will be plenty of more videos to come. If you would like to share your creation with me, you can do so on our Facebook page. We've also got Ravelry as well. Or you can email me a photo of your creation. My email address will be in the box below the video, and I would love to see what you've come up with. So thanks for watching, guys, and until next time, happy crochet.